Would move us forward in a binding contract for the next 5 years tentatively with a 90-day termination.
I'm glad you said that. Where I would ask that we give an extension to USW, because we currently do not have a contract like we have. The current contract we had before was what type of contract?
The current contract that we have is the 120-day service contract that we provided back in January.
Right.
But we did an amendment to that with the temporary extension.
Right.
So currently, the contract that the city has is a normal, typical operations agreement that you would see with the municipality or a city. So what we've done is just we've gone through that, and we noticed that there were a couple of errors in there as far as section 8.10, which just stated legal obligations where illegal obligations would happen. And there was just a couple of other errors that we noted that didn't pertain primarily, specifically to the city of Prairie View. So we amended those, and then we also amended the base fee and what we would actually cover. The services that we would provide as far as our FTEs that we would have on the ground, a full service utility operator and a project manager, as well as the scheduled rates if anything fell out outside of that base fee structure.
So the reason why I'm asking that we extend the contract, are we saying that this is gonna overlap what we first have? Because in this only talks about A, B, and C. And we talked about what are we gonna get for the 23. So my issue is the cost. Based upon what we made in the budget, we said we're gonna bring on a public works director. And we need, and this proposal fits that need, but we have to make a decision on whether we're going to now bring on a public works supervisor for the city, or we're gonna wrap that money into the cost of this $23,280 per month. So we go from, currently right now, we have a base of $3,500 that we are guaranteed to pay USW, $3,500. This is saying we're gonna pay $23,000 a month, because we're bringing on the 2 full-time people. My issue is that we have not figured out how that's gonna work within Public Works, based upon what we did in our budget. And I'm simply saying, not having that, we need to flush out how do we make that connection? And then where does it say the time? Because if we did this for a year or 2 years, where's it guaranteed the amount of time?
It was the amendment to section 7.01.
We don't have, we don't have that, we only have this. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so right here, section
First page.
7.01 on the first page.
Uh-huh.
Termination is hereby amended to this contract may be terminated by either party without cause.
Yeah.
By giving of a 90-day written notice.
Yeah, but so, right, I'm talking about section 7.0, which says that this is in effect for 5 years.
Correct.
And that is, right now, we're not in a position to make that decision, a 5-year decision, based upon just having this brief conversation. And I know you're. Go ahead.
So my question would be, so what would you like to go for? Would you like for the rate to be, the 15% rate to be decreased to 12 or some number?
I think,
What is,
so,
in 30 days, what are you expecting?
30 days, I'm saying that we need to do something with USW, because we don't currently have anything.
Okay.
So if that's a 60-day extension, then from that, we have this now with this rate. They were supposed to be we talked about getting a breakdown of what we're gonna get for the $23,000 a month.
Right.
Now, I don't have that in front of me, do you have that?
Yes,
Okay.
we've already provided that contract.
So who has that?
Let me ask a question. Mr. Johnson, money's being discussed. Didn't we have option A, hire a public works director, and option B, the USW contract, and both of those fit within budgetary constraints?
Well, this,
This is
the one he's
different.
discussing now is totally different from the option that we looked at.
Correct. It's adding
Okay.
an additional
And so
Does
we
it-
haven't, I haven't had the opportunity to do a comparison with what he's presenting tonight.
Okay, so what he's presenting tonight is more financially than what
Right.
you were aware of.
Yes, that's
Okay,
correct.
that's what
Well,
I'm asking.
But
So that's why I'm saying.
Shouldn't our treasurer be at the table?
That this is why I'm asking for this extension for 60 days. I think that so again,
I agree.
USW
This is the point, Mr. Ryan. So I agree with what Councilman Brown, I agree that, yeah, we should come back.
Mhm.
But what I want you to clarify and state is when we come back within 30 to 60 days, what exactly do we?
That's what I'm getting ready to go.
All right.
So right now, we made, so Mr. Boswick is correct. USW came to us with a contract in January that was different. We've had several iterations that's been different. We just passed our budget last month. We chose to stay, to keep Public Works within the city of Prairie View, and we put money in for a Public Works director. The proposal that USW has proposed to us takes into account none of that, is what I'm saying. And I'm simply saying that we give us 60 days so we can take into account what they've proposed here is a good plan without them taking over our whole department, but we need to flush out what our deliverables are at the end of 1 year or 2 years is going to look like. And are we gonna have to move money from a Public Works director that we allocated to cover the monthly cost of the 23,000? I think it works. We just can't make this 5-year decision based on just this. So I'm asking that we get a 60-day extension to do something with them, that we then work budgetary-wise to make the connection of the 2 full-time people that we will employ from USW in the amount of 23,500, or this will be the opportunity to negotiate a lower amount and what we're gonna get for those full-time people.
Now, we're not talking what Councilman Rowland said and a public works director, because
No.
you all will have the requisite licenses and cover that component, am I right?
That's correct.
But now let me be clear here, because I wanna make sure we are. Are we talking numbers now that we didn't have before we did the budget a month ago?
That's correct.
Okay,
This
see,
is,
so
the
so
budget's
we
what
have to-
prompted us to move in this direction. And that,
Okay.
you know, because we feel from a company standpoint, we feel that we've provided you all with several different options. And nothing's been resolved. We've been to a workshop, it's been before council several times, nothing's been resolved. And personally, well, from a company standpoint, we're at risk right now, operating for the city of Prairie View. And so we had to step back, reassess what we're doing for the city, and provide the Second Amendment with a timeline. You know, we also provided a timeline. We expected this to get executed by the 15th of this month. And so now you're asking again for additional time for us to go back and sit and discuss something that we've
Yeah,
already.
and believe me, from a business standpoint, I totally agree with everything you said. But from a municipal standpoint and fiduciary standpoint, if we're looking at numbers tonight that we didn't have as recent as a couple of weeks ago, we can't make a decision. We just passed a budget. By law, we cannot go outside of our budget, even if we wanted to. We would have to pass a budget amendment, but we're just receiving these numbers. So we can't vote on something that's outside the budget, it's not on the agenda to do a budget amendment, and we're just getting this for us and our financial advisors and attorneys to review for the first time. I didn't realize what we're hearing numbers-wise tonight was a first, so there's nothing legally. Counselor, am I correct?
Well, so actually, we've had
If
this,
it's gonna put us outside of budget?
yeah, you can't spend outside of your budget.
See, that's my only concern right there. 'cause-
But you also
Yeah,
don't have
hold up,
the,
let's let council finish, yes ma'am.
I believe you don't have the offer of the 60-day extension from the company.
Right.
So you're in a bind.
Right, so Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I will say that the way our budget is set up, we currently, it is not matching. That's why we're asking for, I don't know if we can do 60, maybe it's only 30, to match budgets. We have, when you look at $23,000 times 12 months,
That's 276.
when you look at the total, we have enough money. If we, because we're gonna have to bring in, that's why I'm saying we're gonna have to look at the $70,000 we have allocated for the Public Works Director. We can't have those two full-time people from USW and then bring in another full-time person for us. That's why I'm saying with the 60 days, we've already set it up. We just all need to come together to figure out how it flows. But the 70,000, the 70,000 we have, we'll have to do a budget amendment and look at what we have. When we look at it, we have enough. The question is, what are we going to get for the year for the amount of money? And that needs to be, we need that document before us. I think that I had a conversation with Corey, and we went in depth on what this was gonna include. I thought we were gonna have a document though, that had a summary sheet that was gonna make this plain for everybody. And so the goal, what I would do, is I'll say, it doesn't have to be on the next agenda, but at the next city council meeting, I will have a summary sheet, so we can start preparing that and give us within our 30 days. But the question is, do we have the 30 days extension? Because I didn't know, I thought it was the 18th, but then, so what are we to do?
Hold on, Councilman Jones.
My question is, what is the 30-day, timeline? Why couldn't be by next city council?
Because it doesn't have, well, to give us until, we can do it the next city council meeting. The reason I'm trying to get 30 days is because Mr. Bostic says that his company said they gave us till the 15th to make a decision if they want to do business with us. And so we're saying in good faith, because they've been with us for 3 years, that we could at least get 30 days and we can meet to move forward. That's why I said 30 days at max.
So that meeting will include a workshop within that?
No.
Who would be doing this meeting to make this picture clear?
Mr. Boswick, USW, but then I guess I could host the meeting again. JJ needs to do it, he's the financial person.
All right, so that's, that goes
Yeah,
back
it's
to my
financial.
question. Do we need 30 days? We can't get 2 weeks? Did it?
No, I just have to meet with him.
All right, could we do 2 weeks? Because I know it's a bit much to be asked for 30 days to 60 days when you guys had a deadline.
Well, we already have 2 weeks, because the contract reads it's not effective till November 1. Our next meeting is October 28th.
That's correct.
So if we do decide, so you two gentlemen can get together, and then you can shoot us something, we can send everybody. We can see if the numbers match up, then we can still vote for it on the 28th and still be effective, and if you want another meeting, we can
And
just
do a
have that.
budget amendment at the same time.
Yeah,
Yes.
at the next meeting.
And the question is, why wouldn't Ms. Johnson be at the same discussion with you all?
She needs to be.
I believe Mr. Johnson was at the first.
Ms. Johnson.
Oh, Miss Johnson. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think the city treasurer should be sitting at the table with you, because, I mean, people could correct me if I'm wrong, but he's supposed to catch everything on the
Well,
back end.
okay,
And-
but when you're talking about, that's book processing. But when we talk about, financial decisions like this, that's primarily what I should be involved with, not her.
About,
Yeah.
so
She
she
deals
should
with
be
the
involved
No,
in that.
no, not in this right here.
That's part of the problem, but we won't get into
Well,
that.
we can explain that to you guys more.
The issue is, Ms. Johnson is the city treasurer. She needs to be involved in every financial decisions, every deal, not reviewing the contract, but if there's a terms that we agree, she needs to be in the meeting, and that's the problem. I'm going to get with Mr. Boswick to get the information to council. We do need to have another meeting, which is also why the 30 days, because it isn't just not about being in the budget. The issue is, how does this work with having 2 full-time, because we're paying for this.
Well,
we also
Brian,
pay for
we're gonna
this.
work that out. That's what we'll work out between the two of us. And we'll report that to you.
Councilman Rowland.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Okay.
I get that, but Mr. Johnson,
What's that?
I spent time and me and Mr. Corey have talked about this. The goal though is that the community and city council, we all need to get on the same page with Public Works.
Right.
And we've had an emergency contract for 3 years.
Right.
And so we can't simply say we just gonna throw this in the air and make this get done. And I'm saying that we need to have a meeting irrespective prior to either before we put this on for a vote, because there has to be a meeting because of process.
So what I would say, Mr. JJ, if you could possibly meet with Mr. Bostic before Friday, so that way
Before Friday?
Yeah, because we got a meeting within the next 2 weeks if we're trying to put this on the agenda within the next.
Okay, we can.
And the only reason why I'm saying the next 2 weeks and not 30 days is because I think we didn't drag the process a little bit too long and
Yeah,
too
right.
far.
We can.
So if you can move on by Friday after you guys meet, oh, yeah, and with Ms. Johnson, and we can follow up that following week, to hold a workshop. So that way, by the following, by our next subsequent meeting, Monday, we'll have a budget amendment as well as,
Okay.
And just real quick, in reference to the professional service contract agreement that was provided, when we had the workshop, everyone received a purple notebook like this. And it had all the contracts that we had provided for the city of Prairie View. So the one that we're talking about is the one that was noted as a 120-day service agreement. Well, that's just a normal, typical service agreement between a municipality and a city. So what we had done is just amended that. So what I'll do before sitting with Mr. and Ms. Johnson is go ahead and make these inserts into this contract, so that way there's complete transparency and clarity on exactly what services we're gonna be providing for the city. Because I think that's what I'm hearing from you, is that you wanna know exactly what services you're gonna be receiving from USW Utility Group. And then from a financial standpoint, is the city gonna be able to afford it?
And please let your people know that just based on state municipality laws, the new numbers that we're hearing for the first time tonight, we could not act on. So we're trying to work with you, you all try to work with us,
I appreciate it.
but we have to work within the confines of our laws as well.
Thank you.
But other than that, I think we're good.
Again, so, like, we had a conversation, and I don't want you to get caught up in the contract. The contract is what we need to be executed, that's gonna be reviewed by the attorney. We want the summary sheet, like what me and you had a discussion on. These are the 10 things we're gonna get from having these 2 people full-time, this report, this is how they're gonna do this. This is how much they're gonna be billed for their truck, for the phone, and all, just that information, if you explain it how you explained it to me, then we have no problem moving forward. But I don't want, the issue was, USW was trying to put all this in the contract, and in that purple binder, we was having conversation in whether UFW was gonna take the entire public works, and we wanted to separate that. And so, if you could just give us that summary sheet of like what we talked about, here's the 10 things we're gonna get as deliverables by having 2 full-time certified operators for the city, I think we'll all be in a better place.
I moved, we have a workshop on the 23rd, at 6 p.m. for the USW. 23rd.
October.
October.
So we can do it before the meeting.
What time?
It's been properly moved and seconded that a workshop with USW be held at 6 p.m. in City Hall on October 23rd. You've heard the motion, ready for the question?
Question.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, at the same right? Motion passed. Thank you, sir. One point on page 3,
Yes.
make sure, as we've gone back and forth and things you've pointed out to me over the last couple of years, the inspection services that you all do could very well have alleviated some of the concerns that we're hearing folks have, you know, on campus, off campus, wherever, because we're not situated to do it. We have it with Bureau Veritas, but they don't inspect what you inspect.
Right.
So you inspecting those water sewer lines and that sort of thing and how they run and work. So be sure to highlight that because you're providing something that we can't do right now. So that's huge in making sure everything works as it's supposed to.
Okay, not a problem. Thank you, Mayor.
Bless you.
Council, thank you.
Thank you.
Item 11, discuss 30-day written reports from Trilogy Engineering, Building Inspector, Bureau Veritas, and USW review documents. Mr. Bostic, you may as well just stay right there. Mr. Bostic, you need to back up. The 30-day review on item 11, you can share with us what you will.
So, it's, to set the stage, it's actually haven't been 30 days. And so that will be at the next meeting.
Okay.
The reason why this is on the agenda is because we're gonna do, we needed to get approval So to work, talk, figure out, to explain how this, where we're at, and what do we need to do to currently move forward to make sure we have a report. Before you, all councils, y'all have the draft report for USW. We do not for all of those properties. We actually have 4 properties on there. We're also waiting on a report from Trilogy Engineering. This is the email that was received, and we need approval not to exceed $15,000, and Mr. Peters is here. The email reads,
You about to read something?
yes, but he also has, yes, I'm about to read something. Can I?
Okay, go ahead.
Trilogy picked up the copies documented for the 3 project last Thursday at City Hall. A quick review of the 3 package revealed about 400 pages of review materials plus drawings to the city. Says our best estimate to review all the pages, determine the final status of the inspection. Okay, good. I'm gonna read this one then. I'm gonna stop. It says Trilogy Engineering Services and the role of the city engineer was requested to review the apartment complex referencing the subject to this memorandum. This is Panther Hill, Campus Edge, and Gates of Prairie View. On December 26, Trilogy received 3 packets of information on 3 complexes that were copies from city files. Trilogy performed a quick overview of the scope of work required to determine the effort would exceed the $3,000 limit without prior authorization. Trilogy prepared a scope and cost for the requested work and sent the request to additional authorization to Mayor Allen and Councilmember Rowland on October 3rd. Trilogy has not received an authorization to perform this work above the current authorization limit. On October 11th, Trilogy Engineering started a review of Panther Hill documents that are on file in City Hall. Because the documents provided on the subject were missing several of the certificate of occupancies that Trilogy was asked to review. Panther Hill property has 32 buildings to review, and inspection reports on which the certificate of occupancy are issued are not all complete in the paper files. Trilogy understands from the city staff that most of the newer inspection reports are in electronic format. With this additional information, the review of the project will require additional benefits before the level of effort and cost can be reevaluated. Trilogy requests a meeting with city officials to determine the path forward to complete this requested project performed. In the email that was received, it says that the city ordinance and was written a summary report of the findings of the 3 facilities that required 100 man-hours and will cost approximately $12,000 plus or minus 25%. For cost references, the value of the projects from the permit application is $50 million. With permit fees collected of $187,801. Panther Hill is about 50% of the cost due to size, Campus Edge is 35%, and Gates is the remainder since it only has drawings and engineering review to consider. Please let Trilogy know if we are authorized to proceed with this work. I was coming before council to ask for the authorization of not to exceed $15,000 to wrap up this report, so we'll have it at the next meeting. And we have both USW and David Peters from Trilogy Engineering.
Councilman Rowe, what was the permit fee amount that you?
He says, based on a $50 million, he says permit fees we collected is $187,801.
We, you mean the city?
The city of Prairie View, yes, sir. And that's, if you take the first sheet on all the developments, it gives the cost projected of the project and then how much they've paid. And they took those numbers.
Now, you know the city received very little of $187,000, all right? The permit fees are the inspection fees.
Right.
So you understand, when you say that, it almost sounds like we received that, we're past.
No, we did receive it, but that don't mean that we paid, we paid out 100, out of the 187, we paid out 150 to the engineering companies. But what we're also saying is that where are the reports? If we received the money, engineering should have been done. And since we're having to go back to another engineering company, the question is, if it was not done, we should still have the money. Or if it was done, we should have a report. That's all I'm simply saying. And I don't want to get into this because we want the report to be professional, it has nothing to do with city council. We want it to come from USW and the engineering.
Right, I just need to
Yes, sir.
correct, we need to be clear for the record, though.
Yes, sir.
That money did not go to engineering firms. Our permit fees go to Bureau Veritas for inspections, not engineers.
Yes.
Engineers got
that-
not a dime of that $187,000.
Correct, Mr. Mayor, and that's part of the point. The engineers have to be paid. And I don't wanna get political. The engineers have to be paid, and I'm simply saying that since you signed off on all these documents and you knew the engineer hadn't been charged, or we hadn't invoiced anybody for engineering drawings that we needed, that would fall on our shoulders. So let's just take that and move forward, but we either have the drawings or we have the amount of money it's gonna take. And what we're saying is, if we don't have the drawings, Trilogy is going to do it, and they're saying it's gonna cost $12,000 with a plus or minus, and I'm asking for city council to authorize not to exceed $15,000, so we can bring this report back to council, so we can finalize a process. If we do not have funds, Mr. Mayor, you have Councilman Jones. I'm gonna be quiet.
There you go, Councilman Jones, go ahead.
I move that we give, I move not to exceed $15,000 to Trilogy Engineering Services to finish the report.
Could I just ask where that money's coming from? Is it in the budget?
I was gonna ask.
So,
We have it in, so two
Right
things.
now.
We have it in engineering.
You have a line item engineering, you have 66,000 for the year.
Yes. Now, what we're saying is, this is what we're saying. Right now, we need $15,000. We have the money in engineering. We're gonna have to, once we get this report, there's gonna be a problem, because that means that the company owes us money. We're gonna recoup the $15,000 back on the back end to place back in engineering. So we have enough money currently in engineering, because right now, someone hadn't been charged for engineering services.
What company is gonna pay?
I don't know. I'm just saying, there's someone.
regardless, if it's in the budget right now,
Yes.
you can spend it. If you have to amend the budget later on down the year, you
Yeah, we
can.
can do
As
that.
long as it's in the budget now, is all I care
So
about.
it's passed. We got 66 right now, right? 15.
That's for the whole year?
All right, that's cool.
Okay, we got a motion on the floor, any unreadiness?
Nope.
Okay. What exactly do you want Mr. Peters to review?
So we're gonna, like,
You just said he didn't have plans.
we just wanna finish this motion, and then we still talking about item 11, but we just have a motion that we just wanna get carried.
Call for the question.
We're not done with
Okay,
this.
council, I just want to be clear, based on the way item 11 is stated, is it stated such that money can be voted out for this? Okay, all those in favor say aye?
Mr.
Motion
Mayor,
passed.
so your
Council?
question, so what we're trying to do is to get a report at the end of 30 days at the next meeting from our city public works and from our city engineer. Public works already have a good majority of theirs already done. We're waiting for the city engineer to go back, and they're gonna itemize every development, all the buildings and all the information, and at the end, then we can infer anything. This is not for that. This is just to simply get a report from the professionals in front of us. So right now, Trilogy has all documents for the three buildings, and USW have all the documents for the three buildings. We put Bureau Veritas in this only because they were the ones who actually had the inspection pieces. And so I don't know if and I was simply just the person making sure that everyone had all the documents. So, Mr. Boswick, is there anything that USW needed in reference to?
We received all the documents, and like you mentioned, we're 100% complete. But I don't know if y'all received the email of the pricing. It was $250 per development. And then we went out on site to do an investigation just on the public water and sewer lines. And I believe that was 6 hours at a compliance coordinator rate, which is like $60 an hour. So you're looking at less than $1,000 for our report.
That's why I said 15. I took that into.
Now, do you have plans, drawings? Because I'm wondering, as an engineer, what are you reviewing?
Well, what we looked at, this is why I went over to City Hall and started going through the documents. The package that we got did not have all the certificates of occupancy in it. So I thought I'd go to the city. Well, the city has everything laid out, like on Panther Hill. Each building has its own folder. The documents are all very clearly laid out. What I did find out, I did find the certificates of occupancy, whether they were either temporary or permanent, and they seem to all be in all the buildings that were finished. What we didn't find, though, was the final inspection reports. Well, when I talked to
Ms. Rogers?
Ms. Rogers up front, well, not her, but Ms. Cortez
Ms.
up
Cortez.
front, she explained that more recently, the inspection reports are done electronically in an electronic system, and the paper copies are not routinely put into the files. So that's why they were probably missing. So it's going to take some effort now to go in and look through the electronic files to also pull up the final inspection reports to see that they match up with the certificates of occupancy that are currently in the paper
Well,
file.
I think what we can do is if you'll send the email to Ms. Cortez and copy me, just letting her know on each building what the most recent or final report you need is, and then we can get that to you, and if you need something else, then we'll go after that. But that way she can be putting together what you need.
Right. Now, concerning the plans, we don't have the plans, but the plans are in City Hall, and that's why we came to City Hall to look at the plans. Ms. Cortez provided us the plans. There's a complete set on Panther Hill. We didn't actually look at the other two yet. I wanted to start with Panther Hill. It is the most extensive one. I wanted to see what was available, to see what the extent of the work was going to be able to complete that project.
Okay. Sounds good. Yes, sir. Councilman Wallace?
Make sure that you also CC Councilman Roll as Mayor Pro Tem, because council approved that the Mayor Pro Tem still carry out the agenda item at the last meeting.
I move that,
I'm in the motion.
you make,
No, that was already in the motion to accept the
we already
$50,000.
passed. I move that Ms. Ashley speak upon this agenda item. I think she wrote it on.
She's supposed to speak on the.
Okay, then you just come on up, man. We don't need a motion if you put it on here. Come on up. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. So that means, we need to, Mr. Peters, we need to get it all to fit into that 14,000. So y'all gonna have to give up some.
Yes, ma'am.
First, thank you, Councilman Rowland, for doing what others would not. I'm very pleased with what's been done so far, and I'm sure that a lot of parents will be pleased as well. Next, what I want to say is, those final inspection reports, if they were supposed to, okay, so let me say this. When I got the inspection reports, I asked for everything. Temporary, not temporary, but final. And if I asked for final, they would have been included in my packet, correct? Yeah, they would have, but they're not. And they weren't in anybody else's packet as well. So when I told you a few meetings ago, final inspections weren't done at all, because some buildings were occupied before the inspection was done. So, Mr. Peters is gonna have a hard time finding that, so I don't know what you all are gonna do. And Mr. Mayor, on some of the certificates of occupancy, some of them were still temporary and not complete. So, I don't know if you don't know what you